Hello and welcome, I am the Critical Critic. Today we're going to be asking the question, is Papers, Please good, bad or meh? So, what is Papers, Please? It is an indie game released in 2013 by a one-man creator, Lucas Pope, who I believe this is his first major indie release. He has made several 48-hour game competition games. To my knowledge, this is his first major release. Yes. He's also got an upcoming game. I can't remember what it's called. It's sort of like an 80s themed ghost ship adventure. Yeah, still waiting details. So this game has been available on Steam for just over a year now, and has recently received an iOS port, and is in the foreseeable future is also getting a PlayStation 4 port. For the BAFTA Games 2014, it was nominated. It's actually nominated for Game of the Year and won Best Simulation. I think The Last of Us won Game of the Year, but anyway, yes. Most hardcore gamers overlook this, but people who enjoy indies, this is what I consider a must-have. So you play as a border inspector in the post-war country of Astotska. I think that's how it's pronounced. Stotska? Yeah, something along those lines. Yeah. So you inspect increasingly large amounts of documents and decide who is worthy to go through your border. There is another border who inspects you, and if you get something wrong, then you get your paycheck deduced, which makes you wonder why you're even here if somebody can spot everything. No, we'll go with it. Yes, and you highlight discrepancies and detain the guilty, I guess. It's sort of like a 31-day campaign, and you have to earn enough money to keep your family alive, keep yourself alive and thriving, and yeah, I think that's more or less all there is to it. It uses this concept to go to some complicated places. We'll get into that later. So first let's talk gameplay, which fairly mixed bag. It's quite simple. Somebody will hand over their documents, and you have to make sure everything's in order. If they're okay, then give them the green stamp. If there's discrepancies, then depending on how major it is, then you can detain them and get the men with guns to take them into the house where a lot of people go into, but not many come out of. So it's gameplay wise, it's quite simple. It's fairly addictive. Before I got to what I like about this game, then the gameplay did keep me going, but it's not something that'll keep you amused for hours on end. Can get quite repetitive, grueling over the same paperwork each day, and yeah. Biggest criticism is that it doesn't really explain a lot of it. It gives you some basic instructions, but not a lot more than that. For example, on one day, then you get a scanner installed because people are smuggling bombs through the border, and you have to check them for drugs or if they're lying about their gender, and it can get confusing what you're actually supposed to do, and if they're missing documents, then it took me about an hour to figure out that you have to click on the table to as a discrepancy, and then check if they still have it. So yeah, it's confusing. It tells you what to do, but not how to do it, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Yeah, so it doesn't explain the game very well. Hopefully that will be fixed in future versions. Yeah, and a few other things that if you have enough money to both support your family and you have extra cash to spare, then you can buy upgrades for your passport booth, and it's some of them are fairly useless. I mean, like tags in your logbook is fairly useful, but double clicking to instantly highlight discrepancies is like more or less useless, since that saves you like 2 seconds at the most. So like, usually you have to click the discrepancy button, which is a few minutes over on the which is a few pixels over on the screen, so it really doesn't make much of a difference, to be honest. And to be perfectly honest, then although the family mechanic, it's good for emotional storytelling, you can easily get around the fact of them all the hunger and stuff. If you just feed them and give them heating every other day, they can go hungry and cold and for a day. So yeah, sounds cruel, but it's yeah, it's quite an easy way to get around. Okay, so yeah. So now we've got all the negatives out of the way, let's get on to what Papers, Please does well. So, first thing that I can say is that the atmosphere is absolutely masterful, quite frankly. It's a very grim game. It's not a game that you'll necessarily play to have fun. It's sort of like games like Spec Ops: The Line, where you will enjoy the experience, but a lot of the time it's not very fun. It's quite a grim experience. It's not exactly the most fun thing in the world to be grueling over paperwork to feed your family turnips. So yes, and yes, very grim. It's this combined with it's well achieved with the visual design. When this first came out, a lot of people wrote it off as lazy, but it really does work with the world and the atmosphere. I mean, the black and white with some darker colours, and what else can I say about it? Oh yeah, and the sound design. There's some music, some sound, but it's very effective, like the dark European music. Yeah, so yeah, it really just sets the tone well. It's very immersive, and yeah, and it expands on this with its morality system. It's doesn't really have a set morality system, but the choices that you make are really difficult. A man could come through the border, and his wife's on the other side, but he doesn't have the right passports, and you have to choose between getting extra money for your family or letting him through. So it can get very tough at times. Yeah. And because of this morality system, there's actually 20 different endings. Granted, a lot of them are just glorified game over screens, but I'd say there's only 3 or 4 actual endings. Yeah, so it's very tough to make choices, and I think it's impossible to get through the game without hating yourself. Quite frankly, it's you're always going to make one choice which will make you start kicking yourself. Yeah, and yeah, everything works extremely well. Oh, it's very immersive, and it yeah, it makes up for the slightly slow gameplay. Very much so. My one last nag with Papers, Please is the arcade mode. If you get a certain ending, and then you get a code which leads to an arcade mode, but but it removes all of like the storytelling aspects. It more just turns it into like leaderboards, quite frankly. So yeah, the arcade mode's kind of pointless, but you know, it can be something to toss a few hours into. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend the game purely for the arcade mode. So yeah, my verdict is good, very good. It's got to be one of my favourite indie games of all time, despite its flaws. If you can put aside some slightly slower gameplay, quite addictive gameplay, but slow and sometimes repetitive, then you will be rewarded with some excellent atmosphere and some storytelling. Some of the toughest choices that you'll ever have to make, and either some very rewarding or some very crushing payoffs. Yes. So yeah, it's very good. If you haven't picked this up, then it's available on iOS, PC, and possibly sometime on PS4. Till next time, goodbye.